The man who once promised to protect her began raising his voice, throwing things in anger whenever things didn't go his way. Amara sat on the cold wooden floor, her hands clutching an old photograph, the only thing left from the life she once knew. Her eyes, swollen from crying, traced the smiling faces of her parents and siblings. They were gone, taken away in a sudden, cruel accident that left her alone in a world that seemed to have no mercy. Days turned into weeks, and Amara struggled to survive. She sold little things on the street, skipped meals, and prayed every night for a new beginning. One afternoon, when the sky was heavy with clouds, she met Daniel, a young man with kind eyes but empty pockets. He had nothing, yet he smiled as if he owned the world. Amara saw something in him, maybe hope, maybe love. She shared her food with him, helped him find small jobs, and even gave him the little money she had left. Despite her pain, Daniel became her reason to smile again. One evening, as they sat outside her small house watching the sunset, Daniel took her hand and said softly, "Amara, I will love you forever one day. I'll marry you and give you the life you deserve." She believed him, but life had other plans. Months passed, and Daniel began to change. The warmth in his eyes turned cold. His words became sharp. The man who once promised to protect her began raising his voice, throwing things in anger whenever things didn't go his way. He became rough, losing his temper at the smallest things. Sometimes he pushed her away or held her too hard when they argued, and always beating her up, leaving her trembling and scared. Amara, filled with pain and confusion, tried to make peace, hoping love could fix what was breaking. She stayed, praying that the man she fell in love with would come back, but the more she tried, the worse it got. Then, one morning, Daniel was gone. No goodbye, no explanation. Amara's heart shattered when she heard he had married another woman, a lady from a wealthy family. The man who once needed her now chose comfort over love. That night, Amara sat alone, staring at the walls of her small room. "I'll never let this pain destroy me," she whispered to herself, and with tears streaming down her face, she made a promise: she would rise again. She began selling clothes, baking cakes, and working every hour she could. Her hands were tired, her back ached, but her spirit refused to break. Slowly, she saved up some money and built a name for herself as a hard-working young woman. One day, her friend Grace visited her shop. "Amara, I have something for you," she said with a smile. "There's a big wedding in the city. They need a special cake I told them about you." Amara could hardly believe it. She worked all night, pouring her heart into that cake, layer by layer, with love and perfection. When the wedding day came, Amara arrived early, carefully carrying her masterpiece. The hall sparkled with lights and laughter. As she set the cake on the stand, a tall man watched her from across the room. Ethan, one of the country's richest men and the groom's best friend. Ethan noticed how focused she was, how gracefully she handled her work. There was something different about her: strength, humility, and quiet beauty. Later, he asked his friend, "Who baked that cake?" "That's Amara," the groom replied with a smile. "She's new, but she's incredible." Ethan nodded. "Introduce me to her." From that day, Amara's life began to change. Ethan admired her courage and simplicity. He supported her business, introduced her to people who helped her grow. He rented an apartment for her, bought a car for her, always gifting her with luxury items, and stood by her side. In time, friendship turned into love. A year later, Ethan opened a big brand in Amara's name, one that became known across the country and beyond. And not long after, they married. Amara finally had the peace and happiness she once dreamed of. She gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, and every time she looked at her family, she whispered, "Thank you, God, I made it." But fate wasn't done yet. Daniel's perfect life fell apart. The wealthy woman he married left him, taking everything she had given him. His pride turned to regret. Broke and alone, he remembered the only person who ever truly loved him, Amara. He went back to her old house, only to find strangers living there. She moved long ago, a neighbor said. She's doing well now, I heard. Desperate, Daniel spent weeks trying to find her. Finally, he got her address through an old friend one afternoon. He waited by her gate, holding nothing but guilt in his heart. Then he saw her. Amara stepped out of a shining car in a beautiful mansion, graceful, confident, and glowing in a way he'd never seen before. His voice trembled as he called her name. Amara! She stopped. He dropped to his knees, tears falling freely. Please. Forgive me, he begged. I was blind. I was foolish. Please, give me one more chance. Before Amara could reply, her husband Ethan came out, carrying their little girl. He looked at Daniel, then at his wife. Who is this? Amara took a deep breath. He's the man I told you about, the one who left me when I had nothing. Ethan's calm eyes turned firm. Security, he said softly. Show him out. As the guards approached, Daniel's voice cracked. Amara, please. But she turned away, holding her daughter close. Some chances, she whispered, are meant to be lost forever. Ethan wrapped his arm around her as they walked inside. Daniel stood outside the gate, watching as the doors closed behind them. The sound of laughter drifted through the air, the kind of laughter that once belonged to him, but now was gone for good. And from that day, Amara and Ethan continued to live happily. This proof that pain can turn into power, and heartbreak can become the beginning of something beautiful.